Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
Inside this box is perhaps the most underrated football boot currently on the market, and part of the reason why it's underrated is because it was a huge risk for them to make. And not to call myself out, but calling these underrated while simultaneously telling you guys that they're probably not worth the money doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but let me explain. The boot I'm of course talking about is the Made in Japan Mizuno Alpha that I have here in this gorgeous white, gold, and black colorway. These are absolutely stunning. However, they're very pricey at $320 full retail. Something that is more or less par for the course when it comes to Made in Japan Mizuno products. However, unlike their other Made in Japan boots, you won't find any super soft kangaroo leather to be found. Instead, the entire upper of the Alpha is made from synthetic, and at $320, that would make this the most expensive synthetic football boot on the market by at least 20 bucks, which doesn't seem like a lot, but considering $300 is a lot of money already for a pair of football boots, an extra 20 just seems excessive. Adding on to that, you can also buy the Mizuno Alpha Elite, the non-made in Japan variation of what is effectively the same boot in almost every single way, with those retailing for just $200. Meaning that for an extra $120, all you're really getting is the peace of mind knowing that these are made in Japan under tighter tolerances and arguably by better craftsmen. But at the end of the day, is that going to come through in the performance of the football boots? In my experience, no. At least when it comes to the Alpha, because I do think the other Made in Japan boots are well worth it. But here's the thing, because these aren't very popular, you can get them deeply discounted. Obviously not in this brand new colorway, it just came out, but if you go for the previous ones, instead of $320, you can find them discounted as low as 220 bucks. And if you just want the cheapest entry-level option into the Mizuno Alpha lineup, you can even get the Elite model discounted from $200 all the way down to $160. With all of these deals, by the way, being available via the links down below. And not to justify crazy pricing, because I do think these are far too expensive, the Mizuno Alpha at $220, especially for one that does have the Made in Japan quality that Mizuno is more or less famous for, this now becomes a very compelling option in the speed category. Now in the past, I've compared the Mizuno Alpha to the X Crazy Fast Plus, mainly because they share so much in common. They're both incredibly thin uppers, although the Crazy Fast is a little bit thinner. They're both remarkably comfortable considering how thin and lightweight they are, although these are definitely a lot lighter, and the sole plate and stud patterns do offer very similar levels of responsiveness as well as overall traction. To make a long story short, and again, this is just my opinion based on my experience with these two football boots, if you'd rather something that is as thin and light as possible, go for the Crazy Fast, whereas if you prefer something that is arguably a little bit more comfortable with a slightly better overall fit, you might prefer the Mizunos. As for the argument between Made in Japan and the Elite model, as you can see side by side, there's not a lot that separates these two visually, and in terms of the feel on feet and experience in terms of playing in them, I can't say there is much of a difference that I notice whatsoever. But there has to be some reason as to why you should spend the extra money on the Made in Japan variation. And again, like I talked about, the quality. The Made in Japan football boots are crafted in much lower numbers to a quality standard that, quite honestly, no other brand offers to the public, which is really cool and something that I love so much about the Mizuno brand. Something else that is different technically between the Made in Japan and the Elite model is going to be this insert in the forefoot made from a carvo material, which is a fancy type of plastic that has high rebound properties, basically a responsive plate, very similar to what you're gonna find in the plastic plate on the Crazy Fast. And yes, technically the Made in Japan model does have a little bit more of that springback effect because this is just a plastic insert. However, when it comes to actually playing in both of these boots, because the sole plates in general have a little bit more of a flexible feel to them, again, at least in my experience, I can't say that I felt like I was missing out on responsiveness going from the made in Japan model to the less expensive Elite version. Beyond that, there is hardly a difference between these two boots. Now, if you've made it to this point in the video and the Mizuno Alpha in general just really wasn't on your radar, you're probably thinking to yourself, why on earth, even on sale, would I be interested in these boots? And it's not until you get them on feet that you experience the Mizuno magic. This is what makes this brand so special, in my opinion, is that they typically put out products that have a level of refinement and a quality of fit that you just don't see from other brands. So despite this not featuring their signature kangaroo leather upper, this synthetic material is incredibly pliable, incredibly comfortable, and they've just nailed the overall shape of these football boots. If you're looking for what is the most comfortable speed boot on the market with the synthetic upper, this is it. There's no doubt in my mind. Because they've made the lacing system run so deep down the foot, it allows for so much adjustability, more so than just about every other football boot currently on the market. The width of the boot is also very much up to you because of how deep the central lacing system runs. So if you need a tighter fit, you can get that. If you need a little bit more width, that's also an option. I love the cut in the heel in that it's super low, but also feels really secure. It also has this really nice kind of silicone coating to the liner as well as the insole, which really grabs your heel very nicely. They even give you that extra lace hole if you need that little bit of extra lockdown for whatever reason. From a width perspective, plenty of width, like I said, for most people. And then when it comes to sizing, these do run about a quarter size long compared to most other football boots. So while I'm still wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, if you're currently wearing your boots with some extra room, it might be worth it to you to go down half a size, where for most people, if you're already wearing your boots to fit perfectly, staying true to size is probably the best course of action. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Is the Mizuno Alpha, specifically the made in Japan version, the most underrated football boot currently on the market?